I was digging around in the basement and found another old fan that I forgot was even here. This is a Zero brand, about a 10-inch table model oscillating fan, single speed, probably from the late 50s, early 60s. This was made by McGraw-Edison, Bersted Manufacturing Division, and it's pretty beat up. It's got some surface rust on it, and the oscillator mechanism's screwed up, and the cage and the blades are a little bit bent, but it runs. But I'm going to open it up and see if I can improve things a little bit. Try to straighten the blades out and possibly fix the oscillator mechanism and lubricate it and all that good stuff. This was considered a cheap fan back in the day. These things probably cost around $10 back when they were new. They were the 1950s and 60s equivalent of the current cheap fans that you can buy at Walmart. The only difference is these fans can actually be fixed, unlike the modern Walmart fans. Okay, let's open it up and see what I can find. And here we are, half taken apart with the oscillator gearbox dismounted from the motor. And as you can see, it's full of old nasty grease too, just like on the GE fan that we just fixed, and that will all have to be removed. And as well as right there, the grease right there on the motor shaft. Here on the front, we have a front oil hole here, but there's no oil hole on the back. I think they relied from grease from the oscillator to keep the back bearing lubricated. One problem that I've seen several times on these little cheap Bersted manufactured fans is people fail to oil them, and they just run them until they won't go no more, and then the bearings wear out. And then once that happens, you might as well throw the fan away, because it's not easy to replace the bearings in these models. But I think as long as you keep them oiled and take care of them, these things will run for a long time. So let's see if there's any hope for this one. And here's the back side disassembled with the oscillator gear removed from the rotor shaft here. And here's the back oil wick. As you can see, it's plenty dry. Even though I think they relied on grease from the oscillator mechanism to keep that bearing lubricated, I'm going to still soak these wicks in oil for maximum lubrication. And I'm also going to have to fix, see, where is it? Right here. This lead here where the coils are spliced. There was some kind of piece of paper or something wrapped around this to insulate it, but that has since disintegrated, and we can't have that bare wire there to touch anything. So I think I'm just going to open this connection, slide a piece of heat shrink tubing down over it, and reconnect it. The gearbox is now cleaned out of 99.9% of the old grease. And unfortunately, as you can see, these gears are made of plastic, unlike the older ones that were made of metal. But it just shows a sign that they were getting cheap on quality, but still, this fan's loads better than anything made today. So let's see if I can squeeze enough phono lube out of my almost empty tube to lubricate this. Well, I squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and managed to get a fair amount of phono lube down into here. I'd like to get a little more, but that should be enough to get the job done. And I have just now re-insulated our wire here that was exposed with heat shrink tubing, so that should no longer be a threat to anybody. Okay, got this fan lubricated and put back together and put a new power cord on it. Straighten the cage and the blades a little bit better than they were, but they're still not perfect. That's just something it's just a trial and error process that takes a while to do. And the oscillator mechanism is still wanting to give me problems, but so far this is what we've got. After thinking about it, I remember where this fan came from and how it got bent up. This is one of those fans that I bought from somebody on eBay who was one of the many idiot sellers on there that doesn't know how to pack properly. They thought it was sufficient to just throw this fan in a box and put a couple of pieces of crumpled up newspaper down inside the box, and as a result the blades and the cage were severely bent when I got it, to the point that it wouldn't even run. And I played around with it a little bit when I got this fan several years ago, and then I was just so disgusted with the whole thing that I just set the thing back and forgot about it until I dug it out the other day. But that's one area that a lot of eBay sellers need some work on. Learn how to pack stuff. Pack it where it'll survive a drop from the top of the Empire State Building. I mean, what kind of idiot thinks that just throwing something in a box and putting a couple of pieces of crumpled up newspaper in there is gonna keep it from getting destroyed? I mean, some of the packing that I see wouldn't hardly make it across the street, let alone across country. Okay, here we are again. I attempted to fix the oscillator, but didn't have any luck. I know what the problem is, but I really don't know how to fix it. This pin right here that goes up into the gearbox will not stay in place. Now, I don't know what originally held this in place. It seems like it would have had to have been something inside of the gearbox, but unless that pin will stay in position, it's not going to oscillate. So, which is really not a big deal, but you know, I would like it to work properly. But since it won't, we can always use it as a stationary fan. And I took the original, or I'm not going to say original because I don't think these things came with an inline switch, but I removed the inline switch that was on the old power cord and put it on the new one, so that way if I want to use it at my desk or whatever, I don't have to reach down and unplug it. See, now it's trying to oscillate. But anyway, there you go. My 1960's Zero single-speed desk fan. And yes, I'll get around to repainting it one day. Alrighty, there you go. Thanks for watching, and more to come later.